Hi! Okay, so I am live, I think. Yeah, so today I wanted to speak about Venus retrograde a little bit, but I also wanted to show you a bit of like this nice fall weather, and it's kind of cold out, so I'm gonna go inside in a bit, but I just still wanted to show you this beautiful sunshine. So even if it's cold, it's still kind of nice out, and yeah, I really enjoy it when it's like sunny outside. It really uplifts my mood and helps me to stay connected to the beauty of life and the upliftment energies. And so it's kind of windy out too. Yeah, so I'm gonna go inside, and let me just close this window, and okay. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so it's much warmer in here. Okay. I cannot see who's on, but I'm happy you're joining. Yeah. So let me see. I'm just gonna open my Facebook too so I can see who's on, and you can guys comment, and yeah, let's see. Okay. Awesome. So yeah, so Venus retrograde, right? It's been a kind of like interesting 2 weeks for me. Hi Tina, thank you for your heart. Thank you for joining. I'm happy you're here. So yeah, it's been a kind of like like a challenging time recently for me, and I feel like for many other people too. So that's why I wanted to come on here and to speak a little bit about these energies I'm experiencing, and maybe you can relate, and maybe we can like share this space. And sometimes when we speak about things or like share about them or look at them together, we kind of allow them to kind of shift, and then we kind of feel like, oh, we are not alone who experience this, and it becomes easier. The energies are moving through us better, because like for me too, what happened is I felt a bit like isolated in this couple of last days. It was a very strange feeling, actually. It's like it's something I've experienced before in my life, but yeah, but this time when it returned, it's like, oh, I don't want to feel like that. It's like it doesn't really feel good. And so yeah, and one of the things I actually discovered what helped me recently, not just recently, like a couple of times before, and also now, why I'm also creating this live stream, is because I feel like sometimes when we are feeling a bit stuck or overwhelmed in that like sort of murkiness feeling of like not having clarity and not having direction and movement, and like this feeling of stagnation sometimes happens. For me, what helps me to get out of that feeling is to actually create something. It can be something super simple, like even writing in my journal. I do that every day. It helps my energies to move through me, so it's not like all stuck in there. It's like it's moving through and it's clearing itself out as I write. But also like creating, like even like taking pictures or sharing something on Facebook or like doing Facebook lives also helps to kind of move that energies, and then the clarity may be restored. So this is something that helps me, and so I wanted to also share it. Maybe it's gonna be helpful for someone else as well. So it's okay, anything you feel is fine, but we also can always help ourselves to kind of move through the things and feelings we don't really prefer into the ones that actually feel more true to us, more desirable for us. It's all there, it's all in you, like it's all possible for you to feel better. And so it's just a matter of finding the right tools and ways that work for you, that help you to move to where you want to be, how you want to feel. And yeah, so that's why I'm also super happy to be here today live and speak to you in this like interesting times. Like, yeah, and I'm also gonna be reading a bit about Venus retrograde, so we can also like have that information for ourselves and like reflect on it. Because also sometimes when we know what's happening energetically, we then have, when we have that clarity, we can then figure out, oh, that's why like I feel that way, or that is happening, and then we can navigate that energy much better. We then feel empowered to actually like move through it and know what to do with it. Because like if you imagine the dark room and there is no light, and you sort of move around and you bump into things and you're like, oh, what's happening here? And it's much easier to get scared in the environment in which there is no light, in which you cannot see anything. And so when we do bring in that light and see, oh, that's a couch, that's a table, it's like, oh, okay, it brings us into ease and into that like clarity of like, oh, okay, then I know I can sit on this couch, I can have some tea right now, I can like do something, and maybe just wait it out. For example, if we know the weather is not quite nice out today, we're like, okay, great, that's fine, but then what can I do so that I don't, so that I can make the best use of this current energy or this current environment I'm in? And yeah, so give me just a second, because I wanted to also share this video to my other page, just so people can find it as well, and then we will talk a bit about Venus retrograde. Let me see. Okay. One second. And I have some tea here too with me, so we're having a bit of a tea party with you. Okay. Okay, so I think that's good. Yeah, so I do have some tea, and you may want to also have some tea, and so we can have this like tea time together. And yeah, and I also decided to do live stream today for the first time in the kitchen, which I usually do it from my room. And so I wanted to kind of create some also movement and change, and for some reason to do it in the different environment, which is still in my house, but yeah, but still it's kind of fun. And that's actually, over there, that's actually the painting that I did. This is the painting I did like quite a while ago, about like 7 years ago, after I went to Cuba. And so I took a picture in this bar, which is like, it was like a cool bar actually. It's like a bar right on the street. So it's like a building that has like all the windows like open. It's like, it's a like, I don't know how to describe it, because like in the super warm climates, sometimes they have this like walk through buildings, right? It's like, so there are tables and stuff, but you can walk right through it. So it's like, it's one of those ones, and it was super nice one. And so I took a picture of it, and then I painted with the oil colors, and so it's there. I don't know, I just wanted to share a bit about it if you've been wondering. Yeah, okay. So let's see, I'm just gonna go to, there is this beautiful woman, astrologer, who writes so nicely all the time about astrology, and I really like the way she writes. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name exactly, Shani Nicholas, and her website shaninicholas.com. And so I'm gonna read from what she wrote, because I really liked it. I liked the way she explained it, the energy. Okay, so I'm gonna read. So Venus retrograde. So it started on October 5th, which is like a week ago, and it's going until November 16th, which is in a month from now. So we have this like 40, it actually lasts like 40 days, the actual retrograde. And there is also like time before retrograde that also kind of part of it, and afterwards too, but the actual retrograde is like 40 days. And if you don't know, what is retrograde is basically any planet that appears to go backwards in the sky in relation to its like normal movement as we see it. It's like when we see as if it looks backwards, that's when it's going retrograde. It's not actually, of course, going retrograde, but it appears to be. But the energy still, there is energy shift about that, and we experience it. And so, yeah, so it's going retrograde till November 16th. And so to the ancients, each planet was seen as a goddess or god. Unlike the other lights in the sky, the planets moved on their own accord against the backdrop of the fixed stars, signaling to us times of prosperity, retrieval, strife, and victory. Venus retrograde pattern captivated the imagination of the ancients. The Sumerians saw the bright star as the goddess Inanna, protectress of sex workers, goddess of love, erotic energy, and the queen of heaven and earth. And during her retrograde cycle, she goes from bright evening star to invisible to bright morning star, slowly disappearing from view as she retrogrades back into a conjunction with the sun. Venus was thought to be in the underworld during her time of invisibility. So it's like you can imagine that feeling of underworld. She's invisible. You cannot see her in the sky. She goes like from evening star to invisible. It's like, oh, where did she go? And then she will re-emerge after those 40 days as the morning star. So you can imagine this already, right? This picture of beautiful underworld journey of the transformation through maybe some challenging times, but then so we can rebirth again. And what's kind of interesting is actually it's in Scorpio. It's retrograding in Scorpio, which is like very like transformational, deep sign. And then it's gonna go to Libra. So it's like it's going through Scorpio and Libra. Yeah, so let me go back to reading this. Yeah. So Venus, or Inanna, which is the different name for her, visual transformations were made into great descent myth that mirrors our psychological process of death, rebirth, and transformation. Venus is currently in Scorpio, one of the signs she has greatest difficulty in. Here, Venus is more attuned to the wounds, betrayals, and historic assault of the feminine. So there is a lot of that too happening in the world right now, right? Of like feminine speaking up and like saying all these things that she was silenced before to speak about. So now there is that like outpour of energy of the wounds that were held unseen, and now it's like people are talking about it, which is good. It's healing. And yeah, so then, okay, so this once every 18-month retrograde cycle teaches us much about our limits, our heartache, and the process of purging unhealthy relationships patterns from our systems. So there is a lot about relationships too, about Venus. As Venus deepens into the retrograde, she will reveal the massive shifts that all of our relationships are undergoing. In Scorpio, Venus is in exact opposition to one of her home signs, Taurus. Taurus builds stable structures, loves consistency, never lets go. In her opposite sign, Venus in Scorpio hungers after transformative processes that brings the truth. Death and rebirth are a necessary part of the cycle of any organism. Hi Katrine, I'm happy you're here live. I'm reading about Venus retrograde. Yeah, it's a very transformative times, and yeah. So over the course of the next 40 days and nights, we will come to understand in greater depth our desires, needs, and necessities when relating and creating our life and partnerships as they need to be now. So there is a huge reevaluation process that's happening right now in terms of relationships, how we relate to ourselves, to our life, to our people, in our closest relationships, in our businesses, and any kind of relationships. And then there is a huge like sort of flare up happening of the patterns that no longer work, that we have been in for a long time, but now it's like as this Venus goes into underworld, into this like transformative Scorpio sign of like death and rebirth and like nothing less than that. So we actually kind of, yeah, we get to see the shadows, like you could say, the things that were in the background of like how we live our life, how we relate to people that were okay maybe in some sort of way, but no longer are okay. They are no longer surviving this new energy of where we are going, because of course there is always evolution of our journey of where we actually going collectively as well as individually. So when you imagine we increase those energies planetarily and for ourselves in our life, we experience that like contrast of like if there is greater light, the deeper shadows kind of receiving that light, and so we're like, whoa, we didn't know it was there. So we're like, whoa, sometimes it's like super, you know, unexpected what is there. But it's fine. It's like it's okay to see something we have not seen before and to reevaluate it and to kind of bring it to light and decide, okay, well, that's fine. It was there. That's how it was. So I feel like there is like huge, like we have this power in us in how we approach the situation or the like like the truth that gets revealed or like something that gets revealed to us. We can approach it with like judgment or you know, or with like fear of like, oh no, I don't want to see that. But sometimes it's like we do need to see that because actually we do want to move on through it. We want to move on onto the other side. So the other approach we can take is that we like the approach of forgiveness and gentleness and just this like, you know, taking things slow as well. It's like sometimes I feel like for me too, it's like I'm learning to not rush things and not to jump into some kind of like action of like something right away, because I can sometimes do that, but sometimes it's good to give it time to sort of like unfold on its own as we stay present with it, as we kind of stay loving with it, as we hold this light of awareness, allowing that light to, well, first of all, of course, keep us aligned and keep us like healthy and, you know, having like this good self-care with ourselves so we feel good, and then also like to inspire this like change of that like transformation of that darkness into the light. So how I shared in the beginning with this analogy of the dark room where there is no light, when there is complete darkness and you cannot see what's going on, and it can get scary because of that. So imagine if like this approach of fear in that room was like, woo, jumping onto things and being like, what's going on? I don't know, and going crazy in our minds, creating stories about what's there. But if we just bring in the light, even just a little bit, and then maybe more and more light, and be like, okay, let me first of all see what's going on in this room. So the clarity is important to see where we are at. And then let's see. Okay, I think I'm back. For some reason it was reconnecting me. But yeah, but then it's like, okay, I have a choice to now create something new. I have a choice to clear out this room of the things that I really actually don't like anymore, that are actually like I didn't even know that were there, or maybe I just didn't have that awareness of this thing, but now I see it, and I no longer want that in my life. I know I want something better in my life. I know something is calling me from inside of like, you know, I find that like many of us probably feel that, right? It's like in this like challenging times, and like some of the things getting like, ooh, we also like, actually there is some sort of like sparkle happening as well, if we can attune to that, of like this possibility of how the good way of how things could be. It's like, you know, the imagination, the creation, the love, the visions for ourselves and the whole world that we have inside of us. And it's all possible to create that in this life. And for me, that is like exciting. And yeah, but sometimes it's like to do that and to go to that vision we want, sometimes it does need that like spring cleaning of our house as well, to be like, oh, that's how it was, okay, and without no judgment and no like contraction or like fighting with it. We just being like super clearly like in charge of our own house, of like, oh, I actually have like, it's like also taking responsibility. It's also like no longer feeling, you know, because sometimes it's like we can stay in that mindset of like something's wrong, but we are not able to change it. It's like, and like maybe blaming ourselves or others, and sometimes it's unconscious, and like we all do that. And so but it's like as we shift that mentality from sort of like this victim sort of mentality towards that like creatorship mentality of like, I have the power, actually, I do have the power, even if we are not yet you know, at ease in knowing how to use it, we do have that power. And so we choose to engage it more often now and be like, okay, so I can create something, I can say something in the situation I really want to say, for example. And so we start to exercise that new muscle of our power, of like creatorship power. But yeah, so that's sort of like a big picture of this process of transformation and the good possibility of it, of this like, as I was reading about retrograde of Venus, how it's going into underworld and then it becoming a morning star after this 40 days, after this like journey through like this darkness. You could say it's like it's emerging as the morning star. So it's like there is the process, but during this process sometimes it's like, and it's good to be aware of like, oh, that's what's happening. So during this process, in this like underworld, in this like darkness feelings, we can then be like, okay, and take things like, I feel like it's good to take things slow and to kind of keep it essential in a way, and not overdo things, not like think, okay, we need to now fix too much, or like think too much, or like, you know, overwhelm ourselves, because like the energies are there and they will be there, they will be kind of like moving through on their own in a lot of ways. So what we can do is not to resist the energies, and to kind of relax into it, knowing sort of what's happening. And of course, like you can decide what to do with the energies on your own. You can see like what's true for you, but also like I'm just speaking to it just so we can have this like clarity a bit about this like 40 days journey of the Venus. And yeah, and sometimes it might feel like something is not working out. That's one of the things too. It's like it can feel like, oh, this and this, and the path we've been walking is suddenly closed, and we're like, oh, I can't walk that path anymore. And it's fine. It's fine, because then you're like, okay, because there is the bigger plan for your life and the bigger picture of the universal beauty and light that you can attune to, and in a way trust that bigger picture. Because when we are in this perception of the person, sometimes we cannot just see from the bigger perspective, and sometimes it's like that can also be like a bit confusing, a bit like, whoa, what's happening, and we cannot figure it out. But it's fine, because sometimes we are not meant to see it from that bigger picture, but we can trust it from our feeling in our heart that universe ultimately cares for us, because we are part of universe. And just to know that everything will be fine. Of course, everything is already fine, even if it doesn't feel like that sometimes. It's just a matter of choosing to attune to that light rather than to react to the dark. Because even it's it can be this is a choice that we can make, and it can be even the choice of choosing that light and trust. It just feels much better if you do that, right? Rather than reacting to the dark and being afraid. It doesn't get us anywhere good. So why would we do that? But I know sometimes and I've experienced that for this last couple of weeks too, of this times of I don't know what's going on. But yeah, but it's good to take it easy on ourselves and have a good self-care as well. Drink some water, have some rest, go outside into nature. Don't watch too much news and TV and whatnot. Just keep yourself in the state of purity and give yourself what you need. That is an essential way of caring for ourselves. It's okay, what do I need? And the stuff I don't need, I don't need. It's no need to engage in that. Yeah, so let me see if there is anything else that I wanted to share about this. I was actually reading on Instagram last night, a post. I don't remember who wrote it, but it just it's interesting about challenges, and this person was writing something about challenges. It's when you experience challenges in your life, or something is very, very challenging, it just it's not that it means that, but it's somehow it is connecting to letting go and not wanting to let go of something. It's not wanting to sort of move through this new wave of that's where the life is going, that's where maybe I am meant to be going. So, and I know sometimes we don't know. So sometimes there is the time of oh, I don't know. But but I don't know, for some reason it was very interesting that it's sometimes it's good to let go, because we can sometimes hold on to things thinking that oh, I can't let go of that because I have things for the heart, because sometimes it's this is all I've known all my life, so how can I let it go? And sometimes we may fight for it and think oh, how can I fix it? Let me do something more with it. But sometimes things just they are not meant to stay in our life. And it can be situations, and can be jobs, and can be relationships. It can be the patterns of connecting or relating. it can be whatever that was there in our life before that we got used to. And so it's like when we get used to something, it gets easy, and we just do it on autopilot in a way, and so we can do other things in life, which is good. But sometimes, like in this like underworld journey, we like, whoa, okay, which patterns no longer serve me, and so that they can come alight, they can come into our awareness, and so we now have a choice of like, okay, something, do we like, maybe we do need to let something go, because we do want to clear out space for something new and something better, even if we don't know what it is yet. So, but that's why I also love envisioning processes of like the meditation or like journaling or doing something creative, because that allows me to attune to this like visions of like where I want to be, where I want to be going. So there is this process of both clearing out of the house from the old things, like, but also like reattuning to, oh, but what do I like? What do I want? What does feel good to me? And all of that, I love to do it from sort of like inside of me, because like I believe that we all know everything, all the answers for ourselves in ourselves. So it's not like someone else knows for us. They may know for them. And sometimes it's also like a beautiful reflection that is also true for us. But ultimately, it's from inside of ourselves we can tune in to our answers, to our journey, to where we are going, to what feels good to us, to what's true for us. And so that's a mastery in a way. For me, it is like to getting to know ourselves intimately, deeply, and to be using those capacities of our like internal vision and creation to actually create into the world, and and interact in the world in this true new way that feels good, that feels true. And I'm speaking a lot about like relationships, because like Venus is a lot about relationships. It's a lot about relationships, but also it's a lot about finances actually, and the travels, I think. Let me see if I'm just seeing if I have the information of what the Venus is about. But that's ultimately, it's like relationships, something about, I think, long visions, long journeys, but also like finances. So like all of that is getting a bit of transformation currently. And so it's like, it's good to know what's happening with the energies, but also to know, okay, like we are still in charge in a way of our life, but also like learning to co-create with the universe and with these energies rather than to push against it. So because then it's like, as I shared about challenges too, then we can like have less challenges, then we have more ease, because we know what's happening and we are working with what's happening. So yay, thanks for the hearts. Cool. So that's a bit of like me sharing about Venus retrograde, because I felt like it's quite a time, I could say. It's like, oh yeah. So, and it's gonna be going for another month. But as we know what's happening in the energies, we can then sail them more easily, or at least we can like, know a bit of like energetic background of universe. But, and yeah, it's not just Venus retrograde, there is a lot of other things actually happening too. So that's why it's like, it can feel intense and can feel like emotional and stuff. And if you do feel that, know that it's okay completely to feel like, even the world is ending and something like that, because I did feel something like that in the last couple of days, and it's fine. So just take care about yourself and like drink some tea, like just essential self-care, and just maybe like, well, for me it's like I try not to think too much too, because like our mind doesn't know, and our mind can create like, you know, all these stories and thoughts that sometimes are just not helpful. So yeah, so find what's helpful for you. And yeah, and I have been wanting to for a long time, and it's still on my mind, and I know I shared it before, to be creating like a bigger course, like a bigger like container for women, where we can come together and explore energies and have this like shifts and like releasing old patterns and all of that stuff, as well as connecting to this bigger vision of like how, like, what do we want, like getting clarity on what feels good to you, like, and resting and forgetting the world for a little bit. Because it's like, for me, it's like, as I took that like 1 week break for myself, I didn't go anywhere, I was still here, but that was for some reason, like, it was necessary for me to kind of reset my mind around social media and everything. And I realized how important it is to still do what I do. It's like, because without this work for myself, I can only speak for me, but if it's true for me, I feel it might be helpful for others, like to have that support of like, you know, coming together, having sessions one-on-one or groups, or like speaking about what's happening, and just having this safe space to rest, and now just like go into the world where there is so much happening, and like so much randomness, so much random energies. And like, because like when I was in this bubble of like constantly like being me, like sharing online and all of this, like I felt so good. It's like, it's so good when you find something you love to do, and you keep creating, because you keep like being always aligned in a way to yourself and to your energies. But then when I kind of stepped out of it to rest, I realized like, oh my God, the world is in a way bigger than I thought. There is so much, like so many people still not aware at all about all of these things. And when I was kind of in a way not really connected to experiencing that and exchanging in that deeper way, as we do, as when we talk about it, when we have sessions, when we look at the energies, when I didn't have that for a bit, I felt like a bit overwhelmed with the world, with the objects, with the things, with people, with like, whoa, it's like, where am I in all of this? So it gave me deeper perspective. So it gave me the challenge of it, but it gave me deeper perspective of how I love this, like how much actually it helps me, you know, how much it helps me to be me, to stay in my energy, and to be attuned to, oh, that's what's true for me. It's like allowing my energy to run through me, rather than like, you know, see what's happening around me and like, whoa, what people are saying and stuff like that. So that's why I'm also like, I do need to create this like container where we can come together. And I do want like to have this like a group experience when we come on Zoom, so we can all see each other on video, and so we can like, also there is a chat so we can interact. So I will be speaking to energies, and we will have sessions, so we will have this like deeper look at like in our system what's ready to upgrade, what's ready to release from our system, so the body can reset, in a way, reset to this new energy, to new energy, to new energy. And yeah, and also that we can also, yeah, rest in a way from the world and from our like regular jobs, if you do have a job you go to, and you know, to rest your mind and your system from input of information from the outside, so you can connect to inside, because that's where your magic is. It's inside, it's not anywhere outside, it's in you. So when we give it that time, and when we connect with it, when we communicate with others who understand this, who also want this, like when we share this space with each other, it gets more and more alive, and we kind of like, we just get like, I don't even know how to explain it, because like for me it's so essential in a way, and so like I just realized how much it's helpful to do that, to also not be alone in that, because like for me, what was before I found this work too is like I felt alone in my life, in like, you know, being able to feel deeper, but not having the tools to communicate it or to connect with it or to create with it. It's like, oh, but what do I do with it? It's like, but when we kind of know how we can work with this and how beautiful it actually is, and like how we can create from this space, it's like I feel like with this like Venus retrograde going like underworld, and we are unpacking this, like in a way also our gifts, in a way something we've put into backpack and forgot about, and we are unpacking it now and being like, oh, I don't like that because I actually want that. And so we unpack it, and then like when we go into light back again, it's like we can create this like new different world, and new like from this new perspective of ourselves, of like this new self-image of who we are, and we can exercise being that creative like being that we are, and yeah, to bring in the new vision for the world. But it includes us also feeling good, having that time to rest and reconnect and see what's actually important to us, and yeah, and find our path and exercise our power, and like all of that. It's like I'm so excited about all of that, that it's like, oh, so yeah, so I feel like I want to create this like 2 month, so like 8 weeks together container with a Facebook group where we can talk and share, but also like the weekly Zoom calls where we can get the updates and stuff like that, and yeah, and tune into inside, to us, to inside, but also of course we can talk about like what's active in our life, so that we can shift that too. But still it's like connecting in, resting, feeling good, and also like creating then from that space. So I think I'm gonna be doing that, and I'm gonna share some details on that, and I hope you can join, because yeah, it's like when we do it together, it's so good. Like it's so good to like come together with people who like similar, who understand this, who also want this. It's like it's so like, yeah, it's just I don't have words for it, because it's so powerful and so like true. In a way, it's like that's just how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to connect with each other in that way. Yeah. So yeah. So I'm gonna be doing that and sharing a bit about that, and yeah, oh, Venus retrograde. So yeah, we're gonna make it, we're gonna go through it. So anywhere you are, anything you experience is fine. You are doing great, so yeah, just keep walking, and there's gonna be more and more light soon. So yeah, so thanks so much for watching, and thanks Katrin for being here live. I so enjoyed you being here live with me today. Yeah, and yeah, so I don't know, I think that's all I've got for today. Just like, yeah. Yeah. So I'll see you soon. Thanks so much. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Katrin says. Thank you, Katrin. Yeah. Yeah, lots of hearts, and that like just deeper knowing, I guess, like deeper, like again, like I don't have words for it, but it's like, and I think you can feel me, Katrin. It's like, you know, from in that different reality, it's like, oh, of course, it's like we are already there in a way. We already like in that magical reality anyways, and we can connect in it, communicate in it, and be like, that, of course, that's how it's like meant to be, and that's who we are, and stuff like that. But yeah, but we are also transforming this physical world too, to actually live in that magical communication reality with each other in the world, in the physical as well. And that's fun, right? It's like that's actually like super fun when we bring that inner knowing reality and where we came from into this reality, and shift this reality towards that magic and light and sparkles and everything you like, because everyone who's magical, you do have that something beautiful inside of you that you want to bring through, and you want to share with the world and connect with the world, even if you don't know yet what it is. But you may feel it when I speak about it, that, oh, of course, that just feels good, that just feels exciting. Yeah. Oh, Katrin says, yes, I do. Oh, that's so good. Yeah. Yeah, I feel it. I can feel you. So, yeah. Awesome. So, yeah, I wish you the best, to Katrin and to everyone who's watching and will be watching. Wishing so much light and knowingness that it's all good, even sometimes when it feels challenging, when it feels like a bit like scary, it's fine. It's like, it's all a part of it. It's part of the process. It's part of the process. We are held within the bigger picture of light and universe that's benevolent, that's good for us, that's actually like nothing bad can ever happen, even if it feels bad. It just feels bad. It's just like, it's just a situation, but we can move through it towards the truth of who we are, and then we will look back and be like, oh, that happened and I thought it was so big and scary, but then maybe that situation actually showed us something deeper, like some treasures that we didn't know before. And maybe you actually did have something like this in your life before, that now when you reflect on it, and the, you know, the breakups or stuff like that that happened before were actually good in the big run. It's like, now when you look back at it and you're like, whoa, that's actually good that it happened, because it kind of showed me different way and different me, and something in me that I would not ever see if not for that situation. So yeah, we can always look at things from that perspective, and be inspired, and be like excited more about what's to come, and who we are, like who we already are. Like we already are that beauty and that light and that everything amazing. We are just like, in a way, came in here into this like dense world to kind of like remember ourselves, and then to transform this dense world back into that lightness and flow of the energy of light, of inspiration, of magic. So thank you. So thank you everyone for being here, for doing your work, for walking your path, because you do make a difference, even when it doesn't feel like that, but you do. And yeah, I'm just getting again a bit emotional, but yeah, that's fine. So thank you. Thanks for joining and watching. So much love to you. So much love to you, and I'll speak to you soon. Okay, bye. Have a good day.